So CNBC has a news story out about how bankers are telling Joe Biden who to pick. Why does he care? Well, if you haven't been following American politics, bankers control a lot in this country. But the main power that they have is Zamani Lebowski. So they, of course, are donors to Joe Biden. So he's going to take what they say very, very seriously. And to be fair to Joe Biden, it's not necessarily CNBC isn't saying that. I'm going to give you the context and the nuance in a second. And they're apparently telling him who they like, which I'll share with you in a sec. But they're also telling him, most importantly, who they don't like and who they definitely don't want picked. And that's the point of the story on CNBC. And CNBC has some things going for it, some things against it. One of the things it has going for it is it's definitely got good sources inside Wall Street. Okay, so who do they like? Now, this is what I've been telling you all along. The favorite of the establishment from day one was Kamala Harris. If he had run, number two would have been Andrew Cuomo. And you can go back a year and a half, maybe longer of me telling you that. And so I was surprised at how poorly Kamala Harris did during the campaign, but she's back. And the establishment is back to supporting her. So she's probably number one on the list. They also like Amy Klobuchar. Now, that's not surprising. And she did relatively well in these primaries. So she made it onto the board. And she's even more conservative than Kamala Harris on the policies, but she's also more honest, which I like. And then the third person is the new person I've been telling you about. And the minute I heard about her, I was like, that's it. That's another one that is a very real possibility, Gretchen Whitmer. So they're playing all the hits. And obviously for VP, they're not talking about Cuomo because Biden has said it's definitely going to be a woman. So if you'd asked me to pick three of the top contenders, I definitely would have picked Kamala Harris and Gretchen Whitmer. And Klobuchar makes a ton of sense. I might or might not have picked her as the banker's choice, and they are, okay? But the thrust of the story is who they don't want, and that's Elizabeth Warren. So now, there's a lot of progressives who are mad at Elizabeth Warren for understandable reasons. She didn't back Bernie in 2016. She didn't back him in 2020. She should have endorsed him after she got out. She should have gotten out earlier, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying that in a blah, blah, blah way. I'm saying that as, I get it. That's totally true. Now, at the same time, is she progressive? Definitely. And I know that. Why? Because I follow politics. And she's the second most progressive senator in the country. And I don't really think that anybody could make an argument otherwise. Maybe you could stretch for an argument this Jeff Merkley, if you even know him. He's from Oregon. But if she's not top two, she's certainly top three. And so within the context of Washington, she's very progressive. But this shows you it's not just me. I'm not randomly shilling for her. Whenever I do support her, it's based on her record. And the people she's targeted most in her career are the bankers. So, and here they are. They're confirming she's really progressive, and we definitely don't want her. So let me give you some quotes here. By the way, CNBC says this is, quote, many donors in the business community. Okay. So the business community has decided, no, it's not going to be anyone remotely progressive. Now, again, can only be a woman, so they're not even considering Bernie Sanders. So within that context, CNBC is saying that the bankers are saying in the business interests that she would be the very worst person for him to pick, which, by the way, means for the rest of us, she's probably close to the top of the list for the very best person. So again, you could have hurt feelings over what happened, and I don't blame you, okay, about how the campaign went down. But in terms of policies, they know, and I know, that she is certainly among the candidates left that could be VP, the most progressive of the lot. So here's a direct quote from a longtime fundraiser for Biden. I think a lot of the donor base on board and coming would prefer almost anyone but Elizabeth. I don't see him choosing her for VP. So the bigger story here isn't about Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden. It's about our oligarchs. That the fact that this article is written in the first place, I don't blame them for writing it. It's very important, and they should. It's just covering the state of affairs as it currently is. That's my problem. Look at the system. Look at how bad it is. Look at how corrupt it is. That they were having a very normal conversation. Oh, well, who do the bankers want to be vice president? Well, that's very important. Well, the donors say, well, anyone but Elizabeth. So, and of course, even if it's not 100% determinative, does anyone think it's not relevant? Of course, it's relevant. It's very, very relevant. It's probably the most relevant thing. When any person in this corrupt system goes to pick a VP, what do my donors think? Voters, we'll get to voters. It's a consideration, but it's, how big is a consideration is it? I don't know. Okay, but the donors, wait a minute, I got to get their opinion first. And so CNBC is accurately reporting that. A couple more quotes here, and I'll give you the context too. A Wall Street executive said, she would be horrible, he would lose the election. First of all, when we need the Wall Street banker's opinion on who is and is not electable, we'll come and ask you. Okay, if you actually cared about electability and not whether she's going to be good for your bottom line, not whether she's going to protect consumers from your fraudulent activities, but if you actually cared about who's more electable, the last person you would ask is a Wall Street banker. What the hell do they know? They're the elite of the elite. And people in this country, the voters of this country, despise them. The right-wing voters hate them. The left-wing voters hate them. The independents hate them. And they go around as if they know. They're like, oh, I'll tell you what. I've asked all my banker friends on Wall Street, and they all declare that Elizabeth Warren would be dreadful, absolutely dreadful, would be the worst pick. All of the elites agree inside the club that Warren would be abysmal. You guys don't know anything about politics. So thanks, but no thanks on your opinion. Of course, they don't actually care about that. They care about deregulation and tax cuts. They're like, Biden picks a bad VP and he wins. At least we didn't get Warren as VP. God knows what could happen to Biden. We definitely don't want Warren anywhere near the administration, let alone president. That's a danger we got to avoid. And if it turns out we advise Biden to pick a terrible VP and it costs him the election, so what? Trump wins. I don't like Trump. He's a little unstable. But he gave me giant tax cuts and allowed me to do stock buybacks and allowed me to do whatever the hell I want and just gave me $6 trillion in the stimulus bill. We'll be fine with Trump. So that's their motivation. It's super obvious. Now, Washington Post has some additional facts. They report that Biden has hired 2 of Elizabeth Warren's advisors. So that seems like a good sign until you find out who it is. They were her fundraising advisors. Okay, I guess it's a start. I would much rather have it be her policy advisors. So, but at least he's inching in that direction. And then he apparently told some virtual donors some policy positions that were close to Elizabeth Warren's at an event last week. Okay, if you're telling donors, tell the rest of us, because the donors are the least progressive. If you're doing things that are progressive, don't hide it. Let us know so we can get excited by it. But if that's true, that's good. This one is really important. He's picked Ted Kaufman to help put together his presidential transition team. So if you don't know Ted Kaufman, no problem. He was briefly a senator replacing Biden, and he's actually he's a long-time staff member to Biden, top, has a great relationship with Biden, by far the most progressive on Biden's team. And when he was a senator, he was very progressive and very tough on the bankers. So on Biden's team, anything that Ted Kaufman's leading, I like, okay? Kaufman. So that's definitely good news. It's good news that he was ever on the team. It's good news that he's a huge part of the transition team, because they might actually pick some progressives. And then last 2 things here. Florida businessman John Morgan, who has given to Warren in the past when she was running for senator, but now says she's too progressive, says that he calls her Warren the socialist now. Oh boy. Okay. So these are the people that Biden has to listen to, because that's where his source of power is. The money comes from those donors. And he also says that she's trying to out Bernie, which of course in donor speak is the worst thing you could possibly do. Oh, heaven forfend. Oh, she's trying to out Bernie. Like the minute you say Bernie, the donor's like, and runs screaming from the building. So, and then I love this quote from CNBC. They say another concern is that Warren could be too polarizing to be on the ticket. What does that mean? Like, Like, and she's gonna be too tough on Trump. She's gonna fight Trump too hard, so she's gonna be polarizing or divisive. See, this is what's wrong with Democrats, and I would argue this is the most important point, guys. You, the donors fund very strong Republicans, arguably vicious Republicans, because they want the Republicans to push as hard as possible. Now, among those donors are people who are super right wing, so they want the Republicans to be as right wing as possible. But there's also a whole bunch of donors who just want tax cuts. And on social issues, yeah, they might not hate minorities, they might not hate gay people, but damn it, they want the money. They want the money, right? So they push for the most right wing Republicans, generally speaking. On the left, for the Democrats, the donors push for the softest Democrats, because they don't want to fight too. Now, the way that they don't verbalize it that way, they might not even think about it consciously that way. The way that they verbalize it is, we need civility, okay? Look, and we don't want to be like the Republicans. They're so uncivil. No, we want nice, peace, calm, etc. What that means is don't fight too hard. Because if you have really strong right-wingers and you have really weak Democrats, you're going to settle on a compromise where the rich get massive tax cuts and massive deregulation. Maybe not an extreme or radical version of that, although we've had extreme and radical versions of it, and that's brought us to where we are today. But the donors, the very wealthy donors, the overwhelming majority, not all of them, but the overwhelming majority of them, even on the Democratic side, they want the status quo. The status quo has been great to them. So they fund Democrats who will not upset the status quo. So, and that's why when they have advice for people like Biden, they say, "Oh, not Warren, not Warren." She says she's polarizing. Okay, that means she'll fight too hard, and might actually help to pass policies that don't kiss our ass and that don't protect the power that we currently have. And that is, of course, unacceptable to the wealthy donors that give to the Democratic Party. And so every once in a while on the Young Turks, you'll hear me say that the Democrats are paid to lose. That's what I mean. That's the process that leads to them losing. Donors finding the softest, weakest Democrats they can, Biden himself, and funding those until they have a weak Democrat versus a strong Republican. That is why Republicans win when their policy positions are deeply unpopular in this country, because they run so strong and people like strength. And that is why a lot of Democrats who should win based on policy, demographics, and everything else lose oftentimes because they're weak and people can't stand weakness. So if Biden had any sense, he wouldn't listen to any of these guys. Of course, his team says, "Oh, no, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. We would never listen to any of this stuff, and we're going to choose whoever the voters want." By the way, the proof will be in the pudding. It doesn't really matter. And am I positive that they're going to pick a corporatist? No, I'm not positive. I was positive Hillary would. With Biden's team, there's guys like Ted Kaufman. There's some good folks on there. Maybe they'll surprise us and pick Warren. But if they pick a very standard Gretchen Whitmer type of pick, well, that's your Tim Kaine pick. And that means buckle up, brace for impact. We're going to have Clinton 2.0. So we'll find out soon enough. All right, guys, what I'm going to do next, if you're watching live right now, I'm going to do an Ask Me Anything. Whoa. So have fun there. I'll do the YouTube Super Chat shout-outs and the member shout-outs if you sign up like someone just did. In fact, I'll do 2 quick member shout-outs here. Justin McCullough, thank you for becoming a member. And Watch My 666. Ooh, that sounds a little dangerous. I kind of like it. Just became a member. Thank you for becoming one. You could also become a member on YouTube if you just click the join button down below. And I'll see you on the Ask Me Anything, so stay right here.